Welcome back everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the channel where hidden stories, unbelievable collectibles, and jaw-dropping possibilities come together. And today we're diving into a story that has electrified coin collectors, casual change checkers, and dreamers alike, a story about a humble 2018 1-cent coin that, according to dramatic claims circulating among advanced numismatists and high-end collectors, could theoretically command a value as high as $17 million if authenticated under extremely rare conditions. And while that number sounds outrageous for a modern penny, the real excitement comes from understanding how errors, minting mistakes, and unique circumstances can elevate an everyday object into legendary territory, because in the world of rare coins, value isn't just about age or metal content, it's about anomalies. And the 2018 Lincoln cent sits at the intersection of modern mass production and the tiny margin where something can go catastrophically and spectacularly wrong in a way that creates history. To understand why a 2018 penny could even be mentioned in the same breath as multi-million-dollar rarities, we need to step back and understand how pennies are made and how errors occur, because modern mints like the Denver Mint strike billions of coins each year using highly automated systems designed to prevent mistakes. But paradoxically, when a mistake does slip through in the modern era, it can be even more dramatic than older errors because of how controlled the process is, meaning that any deviation can be instantly recognizable, intensely scrutinized, and potentially unique. The 2018 1-cent is a zinc core coin plated with copper, bearing the familiar Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the Union shield reverse, and under normal circumstances it is worth exactly 1 cent, produced in enormous quantities and intended for everyday circulation. But collectors know that the true value lies not in the design but in the deviations. And the alleged $17 million valuation comes from the convergence of multiple catastrophic mint errors that, if they exist together on a single authenticated coin, would represent something virtually unheard of in modern U.S. coinage. One of the most talked about possibilities involves a dramatic wrong planchet error combined with a transitional or experimental metal composition, where the coin was not struck on the standard zinc planchet but instead on an entirely different metal blank, such as a bronze alloy, a copper-nickel planchet, or even a planchet intended for a foreign coin or another denomination. And while wrong planchet errors are known, the rarity skyrockets when the metal composition does not match any officially documented production for that year, opening the door to speculation that the coin was struck on an experimental or unauthorized planchet that should never have left the mint. If a 2018 penny were proven to be struck on a solid copper or bronze planchet weighing far more than standard and matching no known issue, that alone would be a 5 or 6-figure error, but the valuation escalates exponentially if the metal composition analysis reveals something never officially sanctioned, because collectors place enormous premiums on mystery, uniqueness, and mint anomalies that challenge the historical record. Another factor fueling the extreme valuation narrative is the possibility of a double die error of unprecedented magnitude, not the minor doubling commonly seen under magnification but a dramatic hub doubling that shows strong separation across Lincoln's profile, the date, the mint mark, and the lettering, visible to the naked eye, and perfectly aligned in a way that confirms it occurred during the die creation process rather than as post-mint damage. Double die errors are among the most beloved varieties in U.S. coin collecting, with famous examples like the 1955 double die cent commanding massive prices. And while modern hubbing techniques are designed to eliminate such errors, the discovery of a bold double die on a 2018 penny would shake the numismatic world because it would prove that even modern safeguards are not infallible. The valuation climbs further when collectors imagine the stacking of errors, because a coin with just one major error is valuable, but a coin with multiple independent errors becomes exponentially rarer, and the rumored $17 million penny is described as potentially exhibiting a combination of wrong planchet, extreme double die, and off-metal composition, creating a one-of-one scenario that defies probability. Another error frequently mentioned in connection with this coin is a dramatic off-center strike combined with a broad strike, where the coin was struck outside the collar die, allowing the metal to flow outward unnaturally, creating an oversized, distorted shape while still retaining a visible date and mint mark, because visibility is critical, as a coin with missing identifying details loses collector appeal, but one that clearly shows its origin while being radically malformed becomes a centerpiece. In modern coins, off-center strikes above a certain percentage with full date are already highly collectible, but pairing that with other errors elevates the coin into legendary status. Some narratives also involve a die cap or struck through error, where a previously struck coin adhered to the die and subsequently struck another planchet, transferring distorted features and creating ghostly impressions. And while die caps are known, a fully developed die cap on a modern cent with clear Denver Mint attribution would be extraordinary. Another layer of intrigue comes from the possibility of a missing or malformed mint mark, or a mint mark that appears doubled, misplaced, or entirely absent due to die damage or misalignment. And while missing mint marks are no longer the rarity they once were due to changes in minting practices, a dramatically malformed or inverted mint mark combined with other errors could still contribute to a record-setting valuation. Collectors also speculate about the possibility of a mule error, one of the rarest types of mint mistakes, where mismatched dies from different denominations or designs are paired together, such as a Lincoln cent obverse paired with a reverse intended for another coin. And while such errors are almost unheard of in modern times due to automated checks, the existence of a mule involving a 2018 D penny would immediately place it among the most significant modern U.S. coin errors ever discovered. The $17 million figure often cited is not a confirmed sale price but rather an extrapolated theoretical valuation based on the extreme rarity and desirability such a coin would have if all these anomalies were present and authenticated, because in high-end numismatics, value is often driven by what elite collectors are willing to pay to own something no one else can. And when 2 or 3 ultra-wealthy collectors compete for a unique object, prices can reach levels that defy conventional logic. Authentication plays a massive role in this discussion, because no error coin, no matter how dramatic, holds real value without verification by top grading services that can confirm the coin was struck at the mint and not altered after the fact, and the process involves metallurgical testing, die state analysis, weight measurement, microscopic examination, and comparison to known mint errors, all of which must align perfectly. The reason modern error coins can sometimes be more controversial than older ones is that modern technology allows for sophisticated alterations, making authentication even more critical, and this scrutiny adds to the mystique because a coin that survives such intense examination and is still deemed genuine becomes legendary by default. The allure of the 2018 D penny story also taps into the dream that extraordinary value can still be hiding in everyday places, that even in an age of digital transactions and automated production, something magical can slip through unnoticed and end up in a pocket, a jar, or a roll of coins from the bank, and this is why stories like this captivate audiences far beyond hardcore collectors. The possibility that a coin struck just a few years ago could rival the value of historic gold coins or ancient artifacts challenges our assumptions about rarity and value and reminds us that error collecting is as much about storytelling as it is about metal and numbers. It's also important to understand that values like $17 million are often speculative ceilings rather than guaranteed outcomes, representing what could happen if the perfect storm of rarity, condition, provenance, and collector demand converged at the right moment, such as a high-profile auction with global attention and multiple bidders determined to make history. Condition would also play a crucial role, because even the rarest error loses value if it is heavily damaged after leaving the mint, whereas a pristine example graded at the highest levels would command a premium far beyond a circulated counterpart. Provenance, or the documented history of the coin's discovery and ownership, adds another layer of value, especially if the coin's story can be traced back to an official mint release, a sealed mint bag, or a documented roll search, because collectors love a clear, compelling narrative. Another factor often discussed is the possibility that the coin represents a transitional error tied to changes in materials or processes. Next. 2016 1-cent coin. Today, because this is one of those stories that sounds unbelievable at first but becomes more fascinating the deeper you go, and by the end of this journey you may never look at a simple 1-cent coin the same way again, because today we are diving into the extraordinary legend, theory, speculation, and mind-bending possibilities surrounding a 2016 1-cent coin that has been talked about in collecting circles as being worth as much as $15 million, not because it is made of gold or because it belonged to a famous historical figure, but because of a perfect storm of errors, mistakes, mint anomalies, and rare circumstances that, when combined, could transform an everyday penny into one of the most valuable coins imaginable. And before we go any further, it is important to understand that stories like this live at the intersection of real numismatic science, documented mint errors, collector psychology, auction dynamics, and sometimes exaggerated headlines. But that does not make them meaningless, because every legendary coin story begins with a possibility, and possibilities are exactly what fuel the world of rare coins. So let us start at the beginning and explore why a 2016 1-cent coin is even part of this conversation in the first place, because 2016 was not a year that most people associate with rare pennies. Millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were produced that year at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, struck on zinc cores with copper plating, bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse, and to the average person these coins were entirely ordinary, spent at grocery stores, dropped into jars, lost between couch cushions, or simply ignored. But within those massive production numbers lies the foundation for error creation. Because whenever coins are produced in such enormous quantities at high speed, mistakes can and do happen, and most of them are minor, unnoticed, or quickly corrected. But occasionally a mistake slips through that is so dramatic, so extreme, and so statistically unlikely that it becomes the stuff of legends. And this is where the idea of a 2016 penny reaching a value as high as $15 million begins to take shape, not as a single known verified sale, but as a theoretical maximum value based on a convergence of rare errors, perfect condition, unique characteristics, and intense collector demand. And to understand how that number is even remotely possible, we need to break down the types of errors and anomalies that could exist on such a coin, starting with planchet errors, because the blank metal disc that becomes a coin is the foundation of everything, and if the planchet itself is wrong, the resulting coin can be extraordinary. Imagine a 2016 1-cent struck not on a zinc planchet intended for pennies, but on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime, a nickel, or even a foreign coin. And while such wrong planchet errors are rare, they are documented throughout mint history, and the value skyrockets when the date is modern because quality control is so strict today that fewer errors escape, making any that do escape far more valuable than similar errors from earlier decades. Now imagine taking that a step further. A 2016 penny struck on a silver planchet intended for a commemorative coin or experimental test, or even on a bronze planchet leftover from pre-1982 production, which alone could push the value into six figures. But the $15 million conversation begins when we start stacking errors on top of each other, because in the world of numismatics, a single error can be valuable, but a combination of multiple major errors on one coin is exponentially rarer. So consider a scenario where a 2016 penny is struck on the wrong planchet, but that planchet is also the wrong thickness and weight, immediately alerting experts to its uniqueness. Then add a double die error, where the coin was struck by a die that had a misalignment during the hubbing process, resulting in doubled lettering, numbers, or design elements that are visible to the naked eye, not the machine doubling that collectors dismiss, but true hub doubling that creates distinct separation. And now we are dealing with a coin that already defies normal expectations. But the story does not stop there, because strike errors play an equally important role. Imagine the same coin also being struck off center, not just slightly, but dramatically, while still retaining a full visible date and mint mark, which is crucial because off-center coins without a date lose much of their appeal, but an off-center coin with a full date is far more desirable. Now layer in a rotated die error, where the reverse is not aligned properly with the obverse, perhaps rotated by 90 or even 180 degrees, making the coin appear upside down when flipped, and suddenly you have a coin that exhibits multiple highly collectible errors all at once. And collectors thrive on these kinds of anomalies because they challenge everything we think we know about how coins are made. But even this still may not fully explain a $15 million valuation, so we must go further into the realm of extreme rarity, because condition is king in numismatics. And a coin with multiple errors but poor preservation will never reach its full potential. So now imagine this 2016 penny surviving all of those mint mistakes and somehow avoiding circulation damage, remaining in near perfect mint state, with full original luster, no scratches, no corrosion, no evidence of wear, graded at the highest levels by a respected third-party grading service, encapsulated, authenticated, and documented, because certification is essential when dealing with a coin of this magnitude. Without it, the market would never accept such a valuation. And now we arrive at the psychological component, because value is not determined by rarity alone, but by desire, and if a coin becomes famous, talked about, written about, and debated across the numismatic community, its value can increase dramatically, especially if it is believed to be unique or one of a kind, and this is where the idea of a $15,000,2016 penny truly enters the realm of possibility. Because uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value, and if experts determine that no other coin like it exists, not even remotely similar, then traditional price guides no longer apply, because there is nothing to compare it to, and when two or more wealthy collectors want the same unique object, the price can escalate beyond rational expectations, driven by ego, prestige, and the desire to own something no one else can, and history supports this phenomenon, as we have seen coins sell for millions not because of their metal content or age, but because of their story, their mystery, and their singular status. And now consider another layer of intrigue. What if this 2016 penny also displays a transitional error, meaning it was struck during a period of change or experimentation at the mint, such as testing alternative compositions, finishes, or production techniques, and while the mint rarely publicizes such experiments, history has shown that experimental coins do exist, sometimes accidentally released. And when discovered years later they become legendary, and if documentation or internal mint records were ever to surface confirming such an experiment, the value of the coin would explode, because now it is not just an error, but a piece of hidden history, a tangible artifact of a process that was never meant to be seen by the public, and collectors are drawn to that secrecy and mystery like moths to a flame. And then there is the possibility of a mule error, one of the most famous and valuable types of mint mistakes, where the obverse and reverse dies come from two different coin designs that were never meant to be paired. Imagine a 2016 Lincoln cent obverse paired with a reverse intended for another denomination or an entirely different coin series, and while such errors are exceedingly rare, they have occurred, and when they do, they command astronomical prices, especially when discovered on modern coins, because they represent a complete breakdown in mint protocol. And now imagine combining a mule error with a wrong planchet, double die, off-center strike, and rotated die, all on one coin. A scenario so unlikely that it borders on impossible, yet not entirely outside the laws of physics or minting processes, and it is in this space between impossible and improbable that the $15 million valuation finds its footing, because the market does not price impossibility, it prices probability, and if the probability is not zero, then the value is not zero. And when the probability is astronomically low, the value can be astronomically high, but let us not forget the role of timing and discovery, because a coin is only valuable if it is recognized as such, and many of the most valuable coins in the world were discovered by ordinary people who had no idea what they were holding at first, sometimes sitting in jars, drawers, or collections for years before an expert took a closer look. And a 2016 penny is especially dangerous in this regard because it is so modern that most people would never think to examine it closely, assuming that anything valuable must be old. Which is one of the greatest misconceptions in coin collecting, because modern errors can be far rarer than ancient ones due to tighter quality control, and that rarity translates directly into value. Next, 2011 D1 cent. Today as we dive into another incredible story from the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable possibilities that could be sitting unnoticed in everyday change. Because today's discussion centers on a 2011 D1 cent coin that has captured imaginations across the numismatic community due to claims that under the most extraordinary circumstances it could be valued as high as $13 million, and while that number may sound impossible for a modern penny, the real excitement lies in understanding how extreme minting errors, rare production mistakes, and unique combinations of anomalies can transform an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a once-in-a-lifetime artifact that defies expectations and rewrites what we think is possible in modern coin collecting. The 2011 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies annually, using highly advanced machinery, strict quality controls, and automated systems designed to eliminate mistakes before coins ever leave the facility. and yet history has proven again and again that even the most sophisticated processes are not immune to error, and when an error does occur in such a tightly controlled environment, its rarity can be exponentially greater than similar mistakes from earlier eras when minting was far less precise. At face value, the 2011 penny is one of the most common coins in circulation, composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union shield reverse symbolizing the preservation of the Union, but collectors know that value is not determined by face value or mintage numbers alone, it is driven by deviations from the norm. And the $13 million figure associated with this coin stems from the hypothetical convergence of several extreme and independently rare errors occurring on a single authenticated specimen. One of the most significant possibilities involves a wrong planchet error of extraordinary nature, where the coin was not struck on a standard cent planchet but instead on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin, and while wrong planchet errors are known and collected, their value increases dramatically when the planchet material is completely inconsistent with any documented production for that year. If a 2011 penny were struck on a solid copper or bronze planchet rather than the standard copper-plated zinc, it would already represent a major anomaly, but if metallurgical testing revealed an alloy composition not matching any officially issued cent or experimental run acknowledged by the mint, the coin would immediately become a mystery piece. And mystery is one of the most powerful drivers of value in numismatics. The intrigue deepens further when collectors speculate about the possibility that such a coin could have been struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime, quarter, or even a foreign coin blank that accidentally entered the cent production line, because the Denver Mint produces coins for multiple denominations and occasionally for foreign governments, and a catastrophic breakdown in sorting or handling could theoretically allow such a mistake to occur. Another cornerstone of the $13 million valuation narrative is the potential presence of an extreme double die error, not the subtle machine doubling often mistaken for true double dies, but a genuine hub doubling created during the die manufacturing process, resulting in strong, clearly separated doubling visible across multiple design elements including Lincoln's profile, the date, the lettering of Liberty, and the mint mark. True double dies are created before any coins are struck, meaning every coin struck from that die carries the same characteristics, but in modern minting, such errors are exceptionally rare due to improved hubbing techniques, so the discovery of a dramatic double die on a 2011 penny would send shockwaves through the collecting community and prompt intense scrutiny, debate, and excitement. The value escalates even more when considering the stacking of errors, because while a single major error is valuable, a coin that combines multiple independent errors becomes exponentially rarer, and the hypothetical $13 million penny is often described as potentially exhibiting a wrong planchet error combined with an extreme double die and additional striking anomalies, creating a scenario so unlikely that it borders on the unbelievable. Among these additional possibilities is a dramatic off-center strike, where the planchet was not properly seated between the dies, resulting in a coin that is struck partially off its intended center, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area while still retaining a fully visible date and mint mark, which is critical for attribution and value. Off-center strikes are popular with collectors, and their value increases with the degree of off-centering and the clarity of the remaining design, but pairing such an error with other major anomalies pushes the coin into a realm occupied by only a handful of modern issues. Another error that fuels speculation is a broad strike, which occurs when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally constrains the metal flow, allowing the coin to expand outward and take on an unusually wide and flattened appearance, and while broad strikes alone are known, a broad strike combined with other errors on a modern penny would be exceptionally rare and visually striking. Some narratives also include the possibility of a struck-through error, where foreign materials such as grease, cloth, metal fragments, or other debris interfered with the strike, leaving dramatic voids, impressions, or distortions in the design, and while minor struck-through grease errors are common, a severe struck-through event that significantly alters the appearance of the coin while preserving its identifiable features could add another layer of rarity. Die errors play a crucial role in this story as well, including the possibility of a die crack, die break, or even a retained cut that creates raised blobs or distortions on the coin's surface, and while these are known errors, a massive die break appearing early in the die's life on a 2011 D penny could result in only a tiny number of coins being struck before the die was retired, making such examples highly sought after. Another tantalizing possibility is a mule error, one of the rarest and most coveted mistakes in coin collecting, where mismatched dies are paired together, such as a Lincoln cent obverse combined with a reverse intended for another denomination or design, and while the mint's automated systems make this extraordinarily unlikely in modern times, the discovery of a mule involving a 2011 D penny would instantly elevate it into the upper echelon of numismatic history. The valuation also considers the possibility of missing or malformed design elements, such as a missing mint mark due to die fill or damage, a distorted date, or even a partially missing design caused by a misaligned die, and while missing mint marks are no longer as rare as they once were due to changes in minting practices, a dramatically malformed or inverted mint mark combined with other errors could still contribute to a record-setting value. Authentication is absolutely central to the discussion of a $13 million penny, because no matter how dramatic an error appears, it holds no real value without verification by top-tier grading and authentication services, and this process involves a comprehensive examination that includes weight analysis, diameter measurement, metallurgical testing, microscopic inspection, die state comparison, and evaluation of strike characteristics to ensure the coin was genuinely struck at the mint and not altered after leaving it. Modern coins face especially intense scrutiny because sophisticated tools exist to alter coins in ways that can mimic genuine errors, making professional authentication essential, and a coin that survives this process and is confirmed as genuine becomes legendary by default. Condition plays an equally important role, because even the rarest error coin can lose significant value if it has been heavily damaged through circulation, corrosion, or improper handling, whereas a coin that remains in near-perfect or mint-state condition commands a premium that can multiply its value several times over. Provenance also adds to the allure, as collectors place great importance on a documented history of discovery and ownership, especially if the coin can be traced back to an original mint bag, a sealed roll, or a well-documented roll search, because a clear and compelling story enhances both credibility and desirability. The $13 million figure often cited in discussions about the 2011 D penny is not based on a confirmed sale but rather on a theoretical upper limit derived from comparisons to other unique and historic error coins, combined with the understanding that in the highest tiers of collecting, value is driven by what wealthy collectors are willing to pay to own something that no one else can. When two or more elite collectors compete for a unique object at a high-profile auction, prices can escalate rapidly beyond traditional valuations, fueled by ego, prestige, and the desire to make history. Last. 1992 1 cent. Today, this is the place where ordinary objects turn into extraordinary stories and where hidden details can unlock unbelievable value, and in today's episode we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and controversial topics in modern coin collecting, the idea that a 1992 1 cent coin could be worth as much as $13 million because of its errors, mistakes, and extraordinary possibilities, a claim that sounds almost impossible at first glance yet becomes increasingly compelling the more you understand how rare coin errors work, how value is created in the numismatic world, and how a single deviation from the norm can transform a humble penny into a once-in-a-lifetime artifact. The 1992 Lincoln cent is, on the surface, a very ordinary coin, struck in massive quantities at United States mints during a period of extremely high production, composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating and bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. But collectors know that what makes a coin valuable is not how common it appears but how uncommon its characteristics are, and the $13 million valuation attached to this particular year is rooted in the convergence of some of the most dramatic, rare, and theoretically possible minting errors ever discussed in relation to a modern cent. To understand how such a staggering value could even be imagined, it is essential to understand how coins are made and how errors occur, because the minting process involves multiple stages including planchet preparation, die creation, die installation, striking, and quality control, and while these processes are designed to produce uniform results, every stage presents opportunities for mistakes. And when multiple mistakes occur together on a single coin, rarity increases exponentially. One of the most important known facts about the 1992 penny that already makes it famous is the existence of the 1992 close AM variety, a subtle but highly significant design difference on the reverse of the coin where the letters A and M in the word America are positioned unusually close together, a feature that was not intended for circulation in that year and is believed to have resulted from the accidental use of a proof reverse die on business strike coins. This close AM variety is already one of the most valuable modern penny errors known, with authenticated examples selling for tens of thousands of dollars, and it serves as the foundation for speculation about even more extreme possibilities. The $13 million valuation enters the discussion when collectors and researchers imagine a 1992 cent that not only exhibits the close AM reverse but also combines it with additional catastrophic errors, creating a coin so rare that it could plausibly be unique. One of the most powerful possibilities involves a wrong planchet error, where the coin was struck on a planchet not intended for a cent, and while wrong planchet errors do exist, their value increases dramatically when the metal composition is completely inconsistent with any documented production for that year. If a 1992 cent were struck on a solid copper or bronze planchet rather than the standard copper-plated zinc, it would already be a major rarity, but if metallurgical testing revealed an alloy composition matching pre-1982 bronze cents or an experimental alloy never officially released, the coin would instantly become a mystery piece. And mystery is one of the most powerful drivers of value in numismatics. Even more extraordinary would be a 1992 cent struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime, quarter, or even a foreign coin blank that accidentally entered the cent production line, because U.S. mints often handle multiple denominations and occasionally foreign contracts, and a breakdown in sorting or handling could theoretically allow such a mistake to occur. The value skyrockets further when collectors consider the possibility of a dramatic double die error on a 1992 cent, not the minor machine doubling that is common and often mistaken for true doubling, but a genuine hub doubling created during the die manufacturing process, resulting in strong, clearly separated doubling visible across multiple design elements including Lincoln's profile, the date, the lettering, and possibly even the mint mark. True double dies are among the most coveted errors in U.S. coin collecting history, and while improvements in minting technology have made them rarer over time, their discovery on a 1992 cent would be monumental, especially if the doubling were bold enough to be seen without magnification. The concept of error stacking is central to the $13 million narrative, because while a single major error is valuable, a coin that combines multiple independent errors becomes exponentially rarer, and the hypothetical coin at the center of this discussion is often described as potentially exhibiting a close AM reverse, a wrong planchet, a dramatic double die, and additional striking anomalies all on the same piece. One such anomaly could be a significant off-center strike, where the planchet was not properly aligned between the dies, resulting in a coin that is struck partially off its intended center while still retaining a fully visible date and mint mark, a critical factor for attribution and value. Off-center strikes are popular with collectors, and their value increases with the degree of off-centering and the clarity of the remaining design, but pairing such an error with other major anomalies elevates the coin into a realm occupied by only a handful of modern issues. Another possibility often discussed is a broad strike, which occurs when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally constrains the metal flow, allowing the coin to expand outward into an unusually wide and flattened shape, and while broad strikes alone are known, a broad strike combined with other errors on a 1992 cent would be visually dramatic and extraordinarily rare. Struck-through errors add yet another layer of intrigue, occurring when foreign material such as grease, cloth, metal fragments, or other debris interferes with the strike, leaving voids, impressions, or distortions in the design, and while minor struck-through grease errors are relatively common, a severe struck-through event that significantly alters the coin's appearance while preserving its identifying features could contribute meaningfully to a record-setting valuation. Die-related errors are also central to this discussion, including die cracks, die breaks, and retained cuts that create raised, irregular features on the coin surface, and while these are known errors, a massive die break appearing early in the die's life on a 1992 cent could result in only a very small number of coins being struck before the die was retired, making such examples extremely desirable. One of the most tantalizing possibilities is the concept of a mule error, one of the rarest and most coveted mistakes in coin collecting, where mismatched dies are paired together, such as a Lincoln cent obverse combined with a reverse intended for a different denomination or design, and while this is extraordinarily unlikely in the modern era due to automated systems and strict controls, the discovery of such an error on a 1992 cent would instantly place it among the most important modern U.S. coins ever discovered. Missing or malformed design elements also play a role in the valuation narrative, including missing or distorted dates, malformed letters, or an absent or misshapen mint mark caused by die fill or damage, and while some of these errors are more common than others, their value increases dramatically when combined with other major anomalies. Authentication is absolutely critical when discussing a coin valued in the millions, because no matter how dramatic an error appears, it holds no real value without verification by top-tier grading and authentication services, and this process involves comprehensive examination including weight analysis, diameter measurement, metallurgical testing, microscopic inspection, die state analysis, and comparison to known mint errors to ensure the coin was genuinely struck at the mint and not altered after leaving it. Modern coins face especially intense scrutiny because sophisticated tools exist to alter coins in ways that can mimic genuine errors, making professional authentication essential, and a coin that survives this process and is confirmed as genuine becomes legendary by default. Condition is another crucial factor, because even the rarest error coin can lose significant value if it is heavily damaged through circulation, corrosion, or improper handling, whereas a coin that remains in pristine or near pristine condition commands a premium that can multiply its value many times over. Provenance further enhances value, as collectors place great importance on a documented history of discovery and ownership, especially if the coin can be traced back to an original mint bag, sealed roll, or well-documented roll search, because a clear and compelling story adds credibility and desirability. The $13 million figure often cited in discussions about the 1992 penny is not based on a confirmed sale but rather on a theoretical upper limit derived from comparisons to other unique and historic error coins, combined with the understanding that in the highest levels of collecting,